Good evening. I've been changing offices all day and dealing with clients, so I haven't had a chance to uh, walk and talk. So this evening we're having a homespun presentation in my home office. There are several things that I think are worth talking about. One is I would categorize it as dancing with the devil, what happened in Monterey Park. What could be worse? This is a place that was a refuge for Asians from all sorts of countries in the Far East. And it was a suburban place of comfort and community and high spirits and getting along. However, that's changed over the last few years because we had a president named Trump who would go around talking about China and suggesting that the COVID was a direct result of what China did. And this had a bad effect, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some local officials in the Asian community. They found in the last couple of years they were abused terribly. And so it would be hard to say that from that came what happened in Monterey Park, that 10 people, actually 11 people were killed and 10 people were injured badly. And the community is, of course, wrestling with the loss of security and the bad faith that's come out of this. Congressman Schiff has said that he has tried for ages to have to do something about guns. But we can't ignore at the same time how the word and speech perhaps brought us to this point. Overall, I don't think Americans come face to face with what death is. I harbor no belief that I will have a vision, a divine vision after I die. I have no anticipation or expectation that somehow spatially one goes up or one goes down. What I believe happens is that all of a sudden there's a nothingness. So we, when we're most honest, understand that life is an opera in which we meet and love and are with people, that we accomplish something that matters to us, that we have joys and we suffer pains, and then there is nothing. And some people, I think, prompt bad public policy by the belief that death is not as substantial as it is, that it is a gateway to nothingness. And so when we have something like the assault in the park, we really are dancing with the devil, but the devil is a mirage, an image, a metaphor for the nothingness that we face. And if we expect and understand that that's what death is, or evaporation as a contributing member of society, then we can appreciate how important it is that a single life died in Monterey Park, that a single child died in Columbine, and going forward to all the many other places, that we live in a nation that doesn't care about life. And how can we talk about the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness? How can we talk about those things when we don't cherish life? We don't believe in celebrating as best we can and taking care of our own as best we can before nothingness visits each of us. We should be aware of what Seneca said. It's not that life is too short, it is that we waste it. What could be more of a waste than some 72-year-old person going and killing complete strangers as far as we know? 21 people suffered, 11 died. How does one make that calculus to do something like that? It is beyond me. So what do I think? I think Trump whipped up the crowd. I think our politicians are misrepresenting us, actually failing their jobs by the fact that they are spurring people to hate, and they're spurring people to ignore what's law and right and good. Will anything come of this besides thoughts and prayers? And I don't criticize the announcement from the White House, but when the White House says the First Lady was praying for these people, on some level I understand that. But I believe that that's a religious act. It's an act of memory. It's an act of caring. It's a meditation. but it doesn't stop the next shooting. It doesn't stop the next killing. And we have to forget this notion that somehow or other, there's a mystery here why really good people die, why innocent people die or killed with these weapons of destruction, why anybody has to tolerate these manufacturers of death who have us dancing with the devil, this time in Monterey and next week someplace else. Among the good events, if you will, and it's a mark on our government that this is true, the Dominion lawsuit is getting more information and creating more appropriate terror for how they've been misrepresented and defamed and slandered in the public, from Trump all the way down the list, with Rudy Giuliani leading the charge with so many false cases across the country that it's endangered his law license but hasn't resulted in him being charged. Can you imagine that we would do as well by the private persons who bring these lawsuits, and they may have more of a chilling and if you will, just effect on those people who would go out and lie and misrepresent what they did in terms of election. We have a lot of talk about the FBI, and everybody talks as if it's an infallible agency. But think about the fact that we have an FBI agent that they couldn't detect, who was dealing with the Russians. Charles McGonigal, I believe is his name. And he was actually helping Deripaska, and who is very close to Putin. And he was being paid for doing so. And the FBI had no knowledge of this. This is our problem. We project onto these people competence they do not have. We project onto these people a trust that they do not hold as an obligation of their office. We are victims of a political class and a business class that think they know better than we do. Hard to say, but I believe that that's true. So the thing that upsets me the most, of course, is Monterey Park. Not only for how it happens, which is the loose speech to incite and encourage people to hurt those from China, or for some people, every Asian is somehow or other connected to China rather than Korea or other places. The same misstatement of public dialogue causes things like January the 6th. They got out there, and this time they're closer, and they're saying, they were stealing the election. So we have to do something about that. So I'm sorry that I can't be more upbeat about these things. I don't think anybody should be. I think that if we do not put pressure on our so-called elected officials who are supposed to represent us, then we will just suffer more day by day. So, glad I could visit with you. I expect tomorrow I'll be on the trail. I think I've moved almost everything, only have pictures to put up. There is one other thing that you might get a kick out of. There is a statue, I think a gorgeous statue, of Washington as a Roman senator or consul. He's in a toga, and so he's bare-chested. And I saw this years ago, and it's in the papers now as a scandal of sorts. Why would we have Washington bare from the chest? And so they want to conceal this. I thought it was an ironic honor or homage to Washington. Here he is as like an emperor or a consul or a Roman senator or somebody in the Greek tradition. And he, with the opportunity to become an autocrat, as perhaps Hamilton would have preferred, took 2 terms and left office. And so he was a civilian representative in the highest office in our land. And I don't know if it's like the Blue Laws or something, but the statue, and I'll post it, is a gorgeous rendition of a man who had done so much from the war and from building the nation, and he became a figurehead that Hamilton used very adroitly and effectively. And so while people like John Adams wanted to have Washington be our emperor, you know, Washington erat imperator, that's what they wanted. Instead, we had a man who had had a lot of experience, who fought hard for America, sacrificed a great deal from his private life for his public service, and launched us in a direction by his example that is worthy of mention. And so I think that statute should remain as public as it was. I think we should acknowledge that there are a lot of different ways to honor our history. And I think it's a wonderfully symbolic way. In no way does it taint who Washington was. So that's my thought, finishing up with George Washington. How can you go wrong? And I would spin around my room, but it wouldn't really make much sense. So until I can be in my cathedral of trees, I'm signing off. Nice visiting with you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.